I'll get it started. Figure out how to.
Is that the right poster?
Good morning. So we don't have a PA system. So I will try to speak as clearly and as loudly as I can. If you've got, if you're not hearing me, please just like raise your hand or something in the background. Yeah, and I'll try to speak up. Try not to mumble and stutter and things like that. If you guys want to come in just a little bit behind, just maybe behind me would be fine. And we'll get started. I'll get started in just a minute here. So I don't know that everybody heard, but we don't have a PA. So I'll just be, I don't know what you call it, speaking without PA. I will. No, it's okay. I'll try to be loud so everyone can hear me. So just a couple of things before we really get started. We'll have time for some statements here. Try to answer some questions if possible. Keep in mind, though, in those questions, sometimes it's difficult to answer questions about an ongoing investigation. So I just ask that you keep that in mind as you're might be posing a question or something like that. And this is just a little background information on that. I'll be providing an update in just a moment, running through where we've been, where we're at today, and where we're looking at going forward. Make sense? Can you guys hear me okay, Chief? All right. So if I start to trail off or get a little low volume, please, if somebody can just like give me a little bit of I appreciate it. Okay. So good morning, everybody. My name is Tom Chapman. I'm the police chief at the Arcata Police Department. Thank you all for coming out today to hear an update of where we're at on this investigation of the homicide of David Josiah Lawson. As many of you know, Charmaine Lawson, David's mom, is here, along with other city officials, family, and friends. So on April 15th at 3 in the morning, a little bit thereafter, many of you know this already, APD was dispatched to the 1100 block of Spear Avenue on the report of a stabbing that had occurred. The victim was 19-year-old David Josiah Lawson, Humboldt State University student, son of Charmaine Lawson. I'll refer to him as DJ, David, and Josiah intermixed in there someplace. I'll try to hit it as best as I can and stay consistent, but DJ was transported to Mad River Hospital where he succumbed to the injuries inflicted from a knife wound. As many of you know, APD Arcata Police Department arrested Kyle Zollner that night. Mr. Zollner was charged in that case. Subsequently went through a 5-day preliminary hearing where a Superior Court judge found insufficient evidence to hold on that charge. The holding order, or lack of a holding order, did not and does not change the circumstances in that Mr. Zollner or somebody else in a case can't be recharged or refiled upon. Since that time, I think that was May 5th where that happened, the case has been and continues to be active and ongoing. We announced a reward in combination with the family. There's a $21,000 reward waiting for information on the arrest and conviction of the person responsible for the death of DJ. So that is still active, that is still ongoing. That reward was born out of the kindness and support that this community has. And I'm proud to say that those individuals are private citizens that contributed their money. In 2 cases, each $10,000 came from their pocket to see that justice happens in this case, to see that we continue to move forward and that we continue to implore witnesses and work on the investigation moving forward. So that piece of this, the $21,000 is still there. It is still viable. It's still, for lack of a better word, an investigative strategy that we're using. Of course, I think, as I said, when that reward was announced, you hate to see that you have to monetize people doing the right thing. It's frustrating that we're in that situation, or that we're in a situation where we're having to essentially give money for people to do what's right and to come forward. Regardless, I don't want to stick on that too long because, my frustration with that is apparent, but it is what it is. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. So, it's a mixed feeling. I feel like, yes, we have a reward and that's a good thing, but also sad that we have a reward and we have to go down that road. So after and during the preliminary hearing, which was talked about a little bit by the judge, comes to the evidence and the forensic processing of evidence. That remains with the California Department of Justice, their forensic laboratories, who service most municipal law enforcement and sheriff's departments in the state of California. All of our local agencies utilize the Department of Justice. Other agencies, some of the larger agencies, San Francisco, Los Angeles, have their own lab. Regardless, we use Department of Justice for our forensics. Evidence that was collected at the scene, evidence that was obtained, had been sent to the Department of Justice for their forensic analysis, and that remains with them at this time. The difficult part with that is DNA processing, DNA testing is a very time-consuming and a very fluid, moving science, if you will. I mean, it's certainly an exact science, and it does, well, I shouldn't say exact, but it is certainly a viable science, but it continues to evolve and has evolved. So the process is not quick, I guess is the point. As of today, we are still waiting for results from that forensic testing that has been done. When you receive those results, whatever they may be and whatever they may look like, that will take the investigation in whatever direction it does. So my point being that the investigation is pushing forward and is ongoing, and that is happening as more investigative leads come in. For example, results from a forensic report, that'll take you in whatever direction that takes you. So we're still waiting for that. But I think it's important to stress that waiting for that doesn't mean idly sitting by or standing by. And I think this is a really frustrating part for people, for myself and others included, is this not standing by. So as we're waiting for these results, we don't sit and wait. We continue to actively work through an investigation. So in this particular case, we have continued to do that, continue to evaluate, figure out, interview, and work through whatever logical investigative processes or logical investigative steps that are appropriate. Recently, we concluded a case review with our sister agencies out of a case review, while I won't give specifics to that, you hope to, and we were able to identify potential steps, potential ideas that you can take your investigation and push it further, keep forward momentum happening, and keep working. And you just keep working and working and working until you get to the end result, whatever that may be. Obviously, the end result in this case, and what we're looking for, is the conviction of the person responsible for the death of her son. And that's what's happening. And that's where, that's really where we're at today. I'm sorry. So, as I said, that case review was recently completed. Some information came out of that we feel was valuable, made it worth its time. As additional case review or additional investigative help, whatever those resources may be, whatever they may look like, we'll certainly tap those, do what we need to do to keep pushing forward, and keep the case having that forward momentum and having that work towards resolution, if that makes sense. I'm struggling to find the right words to describe that. So one more part of that update that I think is important to give here, and we've said it at every turn where we can, is the importance of, and I touched on a little bit with the reward, is the importance of witnesses, or maybe a better description than witnesses is party attendees, or anyone who may have information or may not have information related to the case, is that they come forward. Over this course of time, we have continued to work towards identifying and interviewing those individuals. That work continues to happen. We need those people, though. There are potentially people, I think that for the most part, we have identified a pretty good hunk of those people and have interviewed the vast majority of them. However, we know that there are people who are in attendance at that party that have not come forward. I think that it's important that they do come forward, as all of you think it would be important that they come forward and provide information. And the difficult part in trying to say this succinctly might be a little bit difficult, but perhaps they don't know anything. Perhaps they were there and didn't see anything and don't think it's necessary or important to come forward. I adamantly disagree with that. And this is the point that we've been trying to make in calling those witnesses to come forward, is maybe they don't know what they know or don't know. We don't know. And certainly our intent is to try to fit that into a bigger picture of placing people in locations, statements made, individuals who are there, individuals who may or may not have seen exactly what occurred, but are a piece of a puzzle that we're trying to fit together. And the value of that can't be understated. It is critical that those people come forward. Once again, we'll ask them, and I am asking them, Charmaine and the family are asking them to come forward. It is necessary. And again, even if somebody didn't witness the event, but was simply present, they potentially have valuable information that they don't know they have. We need that. It has to fit within this investigation as we continue to push forward. So I guess I will close with that part there, is that if there are witnesses, if somebody was in attendance or may know people who are in attendance, please reach out. Let us get a statement. Let us evaluate it and tell you what you know or don't know. Thank you. Hold on just a second. I don't know if Charmaine wants to speak or not.
First, let me say I appreciate each and every one of you for being here and for being so supportive. I want to express my thanks and appreciation to the Humboldt County residents for continuously being supportive towards my son. So I wanted to say that. I asked Chief to be here to answer questions. So whatever questions you guys have, please relay those those questions at this time.
Anybody else? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So, how many outside agencies are assisting in the investigation?
I can't give you an exact number off the top of my head, but all of our local sister agencies have participated in some way, shape, or form. It really has and continues to be task specific. So, for example, somebody who has expertise in reviewing technology, like perhaps a cell phone or some other piece of evidence in that way, we'll use that agency or that individual. And so that continues to cross wherever it needs to go. A lot of our work has been with the District Attorney's Office, has been with Humboldt State University Police Department. Obviously part of this is a connection to the university where we're at today, and that is important that they're at the table and a part of those interviews and helping facilitate and work through talking with students and the resources that they provide.
Thinking about the females that were part of the action that night, is it legal to pepper spray other people? And part two, why haven't the females been arrested as part of this crime?
Okay, so the question that was asked was, is it legal to pepper spray somebody? And the second part was,
Why haven't the females been arrested as
why
part
haven't
of this murder?
okay, why haven't the females been arrested as a part of this murder? So I would say that in the answer to the first part of that question requires a level of legal analysis in terms of can you or can't you? Depends. It really depends upon the circumstance. I won't speak to it publicly in this particular case, but in some regards you can, and in some situations you cannot. It's almost for lack of a better description, almost you're evaluating it as are you protecting yourself? If you're not, or you're protecting yourself or somebody else, then it's probably okay. If you're not, then it's probably not okay. But it's really case and fact specific, so it really depends. I'm not speaking to it in this particular case. I can't answer that question. I don't think it's appropriate to get into those dynamics at this point in time of where we're at in the investigation. And then the second part of that was, why haven't they been arrested for murder? In this case, I think that any arrest that made has to be supported, obviously, by probable cause and the facts and the circumstances. I don't think we're there with that in this case at this time. Okay? Yeah.
Sam from the Times-Standard.
Yeah.
So previously you stated that Eureka Police Department was involved. I
Yeah.
was wondering if you could give your definition of involvement. Are they interviewing witnesses? Are they examining evidence? What exactly is Eureka?
Yeah. And Sam, I've answered that for you as we discussed before. I think that it is task specific in whatever it is that we need them to do. I think that they are willing and able to do whatever that may be. It just it will depend, and it depends upon the circumstances and in the situation. Whether it's consultation, whether it's providing forensic support, specifically as I indicated to you before, Eureka did some processing on a weapon that was collected at the scene. Very appreciative of that work and any other consultation that may happen. Thank you. Yeah.
So what evidence are you guys waiting to get back from the Department of Justice?
So the Department of Justice has the majority of the evidence that would be processed for forensics. So for example, the knife that I referred to, clothing, when you process evidence and when you do a request through the Department of Justice, you try to prioritize, you have to prioritize it and tell them what is the most important thing that we need them to process first. And that was obviously in this case A knife's recovered at the scene. That, of course, is a high priority. Clothing for blood evidence, for trace evidence, for whatever it may be.
So what kind of evidence, I'm asking specifically, what evidence are you guys waiting to get back from the Department of Justice to let you know which direction to go? You have to have specific, pieces of evidence that you guys have specific.
Yep, right. Understand. So with the DOJ, it is. I don't think this is going to answer exactly what you're asking. It's whatever evidence they find. So they will process it for any and all evidence that it may have, which would include, for example, blood evidence, fluid evidence, trace evidence, fiber evidence, fingerprint evidence, just kind of all of the things that you think of when you think of evidence. That's what they're looking for. So it's not specific to one thing. So if they're looking at that.
So is it true that you guys sent Goldener's clothes to the Department of Justice and we're supposed to be waiting to get that back? And do you have a time frame of when that might be
Yeah.
available?
So can't discuss specific items of evidence with any detail, but I would say that we don't have a timeline from them. It's really difficult to say when they process evidence and where we are in their priorities, how they triage those things. But what I would say to the first part of the question is that there are pieces.
And what have you sent
Yeah.
about
Tina, we can't talk over the top of each other.
Okay. Well, if you can't answer that, then just say it. Please don't try to go around the question and ask me a specific question. So
Okay,
just-
thank you. Is there another question? Yeah.
I want to ask specifically for the separate crime of Josiah was murdered and Ren was viciously assaulted.
Right.
With her bite marks on her. For the two separate crimes, no one has been charged. Someone has been charged, and cases have been dropped for Josiah.
Right.
Has anyone ever been charged for the assault on Ren?
Yeah, no one has been charged for the assault on Ren at this time. That doesn't exclude future
Has anyone been
actions.
charged to the station for the assault on Ren?
I don't know what that means.
You have a police station where you carry people to interrogate them.
Mm-hmm.
Has you carried anyone there for the assault on Ren? Is there something that
Yeah,
side topic since
it's not something that I can easily answer in this setting. I'd be happy to tell you all about. Yeah, tell you all about that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Something else?
What's the status of the on-site investigators that were announced a while back? Who are they?
Not going to identify those individuals outside the area. Excuse me?
Where are they coming from?
I'm not going to identify those individuals. Yeah.
Can you describe
Go
what
ahead.
they're doing right now?
Go ahead. Yeah, they did. Yeah. I don't have that with me, so. Okay.
So
Yeah.
Can you say that, are there any significant leads that will keep this case active? Is there anything substantial that will keep this from going a cold case? Because there's a lot of cases out there have been unsolved and just are continuously ongoing.
Sure. Yeah. So, Rihanna, I think that, yes, there are pieces of the puzzle that are still out there that are very viable and workable. It's hard to say when they appear to you. I think that one of the bigger components, obviously, is forensics. That's not the main, well, I shouldn't say main. That's not the end-all, be-all, but that's certainly a piece of the puzzle that helps direct and facilitate an investigation, helps you get a sense of where you need to go and what you need to do next. Okay? Yeah.
Anything like significant though, like a significant testimony to keep this active, or
All of it. Yeah, all of it is. All of it fits into what we're doing, and all of it fits into the case and fits into whatever direction and the direction. An investigation will typically take focus, and that was certainly the case here, where it has focus and it takes focus. You have to be open to everything. You have to be open to what's next, whatever that next piece is or may be. And that's certainly where we're at. Okay, thank you. No, I'm done. I've got no more, you guys. I've got no more, you guys. We'll be here all day. Thank you.
Are black people safe in Arcata at this point, and should they avoid Kyle Goldman?
Better way.
Yeah, you guys, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to answer any more questions on this. If there's anybody else that wants to, please go ahead.
We're trying to ask in front of cameras because the community is really worried about this, sir. Really worried. We're asking, do you have any other suspects?
Yeah,
other
Jesse,
than
I've
the one
given
arrested
as
on
much
15?
of an update as I can give today.
You can't give the
I
answer in one-
can't. I'm done.
Police
Thank
Department
you.
the only investigators on the case, or do you guys have active investigators other than Detective Sergeant Dockweiler and Detective Lawson? Are those the only two detectives you have, or do you have others that are actively involved, that are actively looking at this case every day, that are actively calling these people in, other than these two people that work for the Arcata Police Department?
Can we please answer that question? And then
Sure.
that
Yeah,
will be his last
yeah,
question.
no, absolutely. Generally, right now, where we're at is Losi and Detective Dockweiler, who's the lead. Detective Sergeant Dockweiler's the lead investigator in this case. When you say active, that's not a term that can easily be identified or easily be defined for me. It's really task specific in whatever that task is. So to answer your question, there's pieces of evidence that are still being processed outside of DOJ with the district attorney's office. Search warrants are being written, not by APD. So is that active? I think that is an active piece. I think that it's really fact or task specific to whatever it is that needs to be done. We had a meeting yesterday where we were able to have some suggestions that came up on review and looking at processing and thinking about other individuals that may be able to help. Those are being explored. Thank you.
I'm willing to answer any questions that you guys might have. But before I move forward, I would like to thank the donors who has genuinely donated the reward towards the donation for my son. So I want to express my gratitude and thanks to the donors. I really do appreciate it. And I will answer questions.
Do you feel like the reward money has the potential to go up past $21,000?
Yes. Yes. I've had people, other donors who have reached out to me, not in my hometown of SoCal, who is other city officials who is looking into helping in this investigation, making sure that, APD stay on task and make sure that this does not get swept underneath the rug. And also, yes, we have discussed rewards and moving forward in this case.
Any words on how you feel this is taking a long time? Do you feel that everything's being adequately checked and every block is being picked up?
Being DJ's mom, it's been over 2 months and it's way too long. For me, this is like snails crawling. It's not moving fast enough. And as I stated before, I'm going to continually be here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to continue coming back to Arcata, continue pressing and pushing for answers, continue with APD, the district attorney's office, to make sure that this does not become a cold case like someone mentioned earlier. But yeah, I as the mother, yes, I feel like this is taking way too long and I want more results. And that is why I'm here.
There's been a petition started online asking for the Department of Justice to come in and trying to take over or assist the Arcata Police Department with the investigation. What are your thoughts on the petition?
Obviously, I welcome all help, all support from outside agencies, So I'm in agreement with the petition. I've talked to Chief Chapman, and he is willing for the Justice Department to come in and overlook and take over if need be. But we talked about that yesterday. All help is needed, and he's welcoming all help.
But it sounds as though they're kind of like delegating specific tasks or something like that. I couldn't really comprehend the whole situation. What needs to be done to make sure that other outside agencies are actively involved? Do you have any insight into that, or do we just have to wait and hope that someone needs to get involved, or does Arcata Police Department reach out and accept the help, or how do other outside agencies get involved in the investigation?
We discussed that yesterday, and the chief of police has said yesterday in our meeting, along with the city manager, the mayor, city attorney, that if outside agency is needed, which I think they are needed, they are welcoming that the outside agencies. So that's something that we just spoke on yesterday. So we're looking into getting that as soon as possible.
Do you think everything has been transparent?
No, I don't think so. My son was murdered, and for me, even after his killer has been brought to justice and is convicted, he's still alive. His family still get to visit him. He still get to celebrate his birthdays. I don't get that any longer with my son. So no, to your question, no. So this is very difficult for me. As I stand here, I remember back in 2015 walking into the bookstore with my son. And actually that is where my memory is right now. He was happy. He was excited to be here. And never in my wildest dreams would I think I would be here doing this right now. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And I just want justice for my son. That's all I want. I want justice. And I'm going to continue. My family and I are going to continue to be here, his friends, the community. We're going to continue pushing. We are going to get that justice. And Chief Chapman, we've spoke, yesterday and throughout this entire time since my son has been killed. And he wants the same thing. He wants the same thing. The community wants the same thing. I expressed to him that I want him to be more vocal with the community and just keeping you guys updated in what's going on. There's certain information obviously he cannot share, but I did express to him that I need for him to reach out to you guys as well. When you guys reach out to him, give an update. Let the community know what's going on. You mentioned, Michael, there is a murderer in our community. Our students are not safe. Our students will be back at school in less than maybe a month and a half. I need for them to be safe. My son was not safe. And I don't want this to happen to any other student or anyone else for that matter. So I'm going to once again continue to be here to get justice for my son, but also to make sure that the community is safe. And that is what we want. I know that's what we all want. Once again, there is a reward. Please contact the APD. I have a local attorney here in Arcata, Shelly Mack. The award information is on the poster. We have a website. If you know anything, I don't care how small you think it might be, please reach out. it might help bring justice to this case. And we are still looking at the prime suspect as the prime suspect. Okay? So, please reach out. We appreciate everything. If no further questions, I thank you. And I will see you guys in a few weeks. I'll be back.
Thank you, Charmaine.
Thank you, Charmaine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm.